Epps Presents on Hot 923.
And we're back on Atlanta's Hot R&B station, Hot 92.3 on
iHeartRadio.
All right, here to offer our listeners a lived, thought-provoking conversation laced with nuggets of wisdom about real life, real lessons, and real conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for our OG Corliss with CoCo's Corner. Corliss, take us away.
All right. So welcome to CoCo's Corner, where I like to share nuggets of wisdom with our listeners. Some of you may remember back in the day when we used to sit around, talk with our elders, or simply listen in on adult conversations. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, that's how wisdom was shared. Mm-hmm. Through stories, life lessons, and real conversations. So my conversation goes a little like this. So before sunshine goes in on me about Chris and his strong will and persistent behavior.
Come on, Auntie Coco.
Let's look at it a little differently. Not so much as changing the words that we speak, but the way we perceive what is happening. So Dr. Levitt talks about reframing. And reframing helps keep up a child's self-esteem. Mm-hmm. And this ultimately will prevent adults from having a lifelong bill where we have to go through treatment for childhood trauma. Mm-hmm. So most of us have some kind of trauma that came from our childhood. So let me tell you about something that I discovered about myself later on in life. So I went to take a course. It was a 3-day course, and I went to this place called Landmark Education. Mm-hmm. And it is a conversation that you have for these 3 days.
Okay.
Let me tell you, I cried.
I love me a good cry.
All 3 days. I'm telling you, it's so many emotions that are going on during this process. But what's interesting is when you sign up for the course, and if you go to like the intro, once you sign up, you actually start dealing with yourself even before you get to the course. So it was interesting. I was at work and I was telling people, I'm going to this course. I'm going to, find stuff out about myself, and I'm going to be able to heal some of the things that I'm going through, like what's preventing me from being the best version of myself. Mm-hmm. So in my discovery period, days before, I started to say, I bet you they're going to tell me, girl, you too fat, right? Because everybody knows me. I've been thick all my life.
That part.
All my life.
A good thickness.
But that's what I was focused on. I said, they're going to get in here, and I know exactly what they're going to tell me. So anyway, I go through the class, and I'm on day 1, and everybody around, it's maybe 100 people in there. Everybody's crying. Just so many emotions. So they have this thing that they call it pops, whatever pops for you. So as the guy is talking through the course, all of a sudden, as you're thinking, things come in your mind, and then it's like, that was it. So anyway, it was my turn. Not scheduled, but it was happening. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was happening for me. And so in my mind, all I could see was my grandmother says, that's my little black tar baby. Mm-hmm. And I looked around the room, and everybody was laughing. So if you ever met my sisters, one is a passer. She can pass.
Okay.
With hazel eyes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The other one is like maybe Chris's complexion, maybe a little bit lighter. The one I met. Yes. And so anyway, I'm the darkest one. And so I realized that all my life I was trying to fit into my family because I was the darkest one. Wow. And it was like, things were happening. I was always trying to fit between my older sister and my middle sister, just all kind of things in life were happening for me. And it was like, but it was preventing me from going to the next level. Needless to say, the course was awesome. Finding out that information about myself really helped me to look at life just differently. And not promoting the course, but the course is awesome because it tells you to take responsibilities for everything that happened to you. Whether it was being in the wrong place, saying the wrong word, but just take responsibility for it. And then giving anybody that may have offended you grace. And saying, I forgive you for this, because you want to move on. Because the longer you hang on to it, the longer you can't move forward. So anyway, knowing that the color of my skin was an issue, I was like, what? Me and the color of my skin? No, that couldn't be a problem for me. But it was. So being called Tar Baby made me dislike the color of my skin, but I didn't. You couldn't have told me that's what I was feeling. Consciously. But subconsciously, that's exactly what was going on with me. I was trying to, in a white world, corporate America, I always define myself as the black manager or the black director or the black.
And you were doing it.
I was doing that to me. And so it was just interesting, but how I just labeled myself the whole time. And so I want to go back to Dr. Ledditz about reframing, because had my grandmother probably reframed that, because it was a compliment, but I didn't take it that way.
Right.
And had she reframed her words to really say something like, oh, you're so pretty, chocolate, but to call me a tar baby, it was offensive. And so, and what was crazy is I was a child. How did I really know that was offensive?
Exactly.
But the reaction of everybody in the room told me something like it wasn't right. So anyway, but his reframing really helps us to prevent our children from having to go through childhood trauma, and for them to be adults that then have to go to therapy to heal from this childhood trauma. So, my question would be, is there one thing that you can think of that happened in your childhood that you think really changed the
trajectory of your childhood,
of your life?
I would definitely, on the heels of what you just said, definitely played a part. And I think I may have shared this earlier on another show, that my paternal side of the family, there is colorism that exists and is alive and well in that side of the family. And me, it's interesting that you said you use me as an analogy to say that I'm somewhere in between the dark brown, light skin hue. I always felt like I was a darker person because both of my siblings are very fair skinned and lighter than me. And not that it was demonstrated in my immediate household, but going out and interacting with the extended family, I was always reminded or made aware of that, because out of the three of my siblings, I look the most like my mother in my mother's side of the family, and my brothers tend to cater and look more like my dad's side of the family. So for me, that is, it has been very prevalent, and something I've had to reconcile and realize that I just knew that I was maybe of a different hue tone, but not with a negative connotation with it, so to speak. Or maybe it is subconsciously, I don't know. But I can identify what you're saying, that you just know how I reconcile that. I just knew that with certain people on my dad's side of the family, I just wouldn't connect with because of my hue, and that was okay because I received enough love from my mother and my mother's side of the family where it kind of offset that for me.
So first of all, Corliss, let me thank you for your wisdom and your willing to be vulnerable. I never, and not just for this moment, but in general, like I never take the time to say thank you, even outside of your segment. Like this is always you to us. So thank you. And I was actually listening to something about the same thing on the way here. It was in a sermon format though. But for me, it was always hearing that little gay boy. Even before I identified as gay, like it wasn't something I wanted for my life because I grew up in church. And people say now, like, what's your struggle with church? Well, my struggle with church is I didn't fit in church because I was that little gay boy. Right. Anointed, but that little gay boy.
That's right.
On the outside, it was still, look at his little feminine ass. So it was, I've never fit in anywhere. It's come from both places, but that is something that I have to take responsibility for because I adopted it for myself. Opposed to, like, even when it comes to, like, certain rooms I won't speak or I'll dim my light a little bit, it's because I don't want to deal with that little gay boy. Right. Yeah. So that's it for me.
That's interesting.
All right, we got 1 minute. Go ahead.
I think I talk about it enough, honestly, with just necessary. I won't say being silenced, but I think being known as the dramatic tomboy growing up, I just silenced myself when certain things were happening because I was always the happy kid in the family. You know, I never really had a problem when it came to complexion in my family. But if we do want to pivot back to that in school, I would always hate that it would be a light skin versus dark skin thing when my argument would always be we're all black. All right. You know, so just growing up and just being
school days.
Yeah.
Like school days. Right,
good and bad hair. You know, whether you're dark or you're fair. But, but that was really my... Absolutely. But that was really just my trauma, you know, if you will. It was like being touched by my grandfather was just a big deal. And it was like when I finally decided to speak on it, I'm a teenager now. And I'm realizing how my mom is responding. And I see how I'm older now. And yes, he's dead. But it took me having to forgive him after death because he never apologized to me before he died to realize, okay. And then at that moment, girls speak up and start saying it like, you don't have to silence yourself. It doesn't matter. You don't always have to be the happy kid. It's okay to not always be happy.
You know what? I just had an aha moment with you about that. And thank you for sharing your truth, right? In your vulnerability. Because what I just, my aha moment with you is I understand now why you always speak up. And why you're passionate about it. And these are things that we don't always know or identify the backstory until like we get to know a person all the more. And I definitely want to say that. Real quick, come on.
No, Auntie Coco was telling you wrap it up so she can finish her end.
And as I always say, sharing wisdom doesn't make me right, it makes me experience. Check me out in CoCo's Corner on Chris Epps Presents every second Saturday from noon to 2.
All right, we got more great show coming up next. We have our resident street correspondent Sunshine coming up with the Sunshine Report. When she doesn't make the tea, she does what?
Boils the water. This time I might be cooking on the stove. Ask the wife.
Oh. She's here to bring the latest celebrity news and gossip. Keep it locked on the latest Hot R&B station, Hot 92.3 on
iHeartRadio.
Coming up next, we have Leon Thomas with Mutt, followed by Little Mo, Them Boys, and then we're coming back with the Sunshine Report on Atlanta's Hot R&B station, Hot 92.3 on iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after these jams. Keep it locked.
Will.
Shows I love the interaction.
You're in conversation with Chris Epps Presents. On Hot 92.3, your urban adult contemporary radio station.